Hi everyone, meet Muniba, a museum curator. A curator is someone who sets up museum exhibits. Right now, Muniba is a curator at the Museum of Ancient Egyptian History. Museum curators have a lot of different responsibilities. Here are a few: designing the layout of an exhibit, borrowing objects from other museums, and tracking down expenses related to an exhibit. Today, Muniba is creating an exhibit on one of the only female pharaohs, Hatshepsut. Hatshepsut took on the role of pharaoh in 1479 BC. The exhibit will focus on the burial and tomb of Hatshepsut. That way, people will understand why she is significant to Egyptian history and how the items found in her tomb tell us about the burial rites of Egyptian royalty. To design the exhibit, Muniba will first examine a few artifacts and write a description of each artifact that will be on display in the exhibit. First, Muniba examines a funeral statue that depicts Hatshepsut during her time as pharaoh around 1460 BC. That's 3,500 years ago. This is the description that Muniba writes for this statue. This statue shows Hatshepsut wearing a headdress and beard that was traditionally worn by male pharaohs. Hatshepsut was revolutionary because she wanted to be seen as a legitimate ruler. Historians believe this may be why she wanted to be depicted in the same way as male pharaohs. Muniba also records an audio clip of her reading the description. That way people can press a button to listen to the description if they have trouble reading. Muniba also thinks she should translate the description into Braille. That way someone who is visually impaired can still read about the statue. Next, Muniba examines an ancient board game called Senet that was buried with Hatshepsut. She writes the following description. This is a board game where players would act out the transition from life on Earth to the afterlife. The name of the game can be translated to mean game of passing. This is why it is often found among other burial objects in ancient Egypt tombs. Muniba makes sure to record an audio clip and note that she wants this description to be written in Braille. Muniba looks at the wooden box that held some of Hatshepsut's organs and her tooth. Muniba writes a longer description for this artifact. She starts by writing, "This wooden box was puzzling to historians and archaeologists when it was first discovered in Hatshepsut's tomb. This wooden box contained the mummified liver of Hatshepsut as well as her tooth." Muniba continues by saying, "This box shows an important step in ancient Egyptian burial rituals. This step is the preparation of the body for afterlife. Organs would be removed from the body so they could be preserved. Once the person entered the afterlife, they would possess their body again." Last, Muniba looks at carvings of pharaohs on the wall that were discovered in a temple. This series of carvings shows that the story of a male pharaoh, but there are female pronouns being used to describe the pharaoh. The description says, "This series of carvings shows that there is some mystery to the life of Hatshepsut. Later in her reign, Hatshepsut went by a different name. Some historians believe she wanted to assume the role of a male pharaoh." Muniba wants to include this to show that there is always gaps in the historical record. Muniba explains that over time, historians and archaeologists might uncover hieroglyphs or inscriptions that are talking about Hatshepsut, but until then, there are details we will never know about her time as pharaoh. Muniba's next step is to decide where each of the artifacts will be located in the exhibit. She makes sure that there is a lot of space in the walkways so that the exhibit is accessible to everyone, including people in wheelchairs. Now it's your turn to think like a museum curator and go on an adventure.